Good evening, guys. Good evening once again. Welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. So we have finally heard from the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Gwarube. Remember, the president said she is responsible for the implementation of the Bela Act. She's also responsible for protecting it, for defending it. So it's a very difficult place to be in, because some people said it is very difficult to be here because as a government official, as a minister, she has to defend the Bela Act, and also as a DA politician, she has to be attacking the Bela Act. I think that is also why she was like, you know what, if people can take this to court and whatnot. So now the processes include taking a long time, going through certain processes that will consume time, that will cause the delay of full implementation of the Bela Act. Anyway, I would like to hear from, first of all, I want us to read what people said. I think I'm going to read only two screenshots. Somebody said, it's only gimmicks. Somebody said, you know what, it's very difficult to be Siviwe Gwarube at this moment because, as I was saying, as a politician, we have to be attacking the Bela Act, and as the government official, the minister, you have to be protecting the Bela Act. I would like us to read those two screenshots first before we proceed. And this one posted about the Bela Act and the minister and said, will Siviwe Gwarube defend the Bela Act from the government side and attack it from a political point of view of the Democratic Alliance? I feel sorry for her. She will soon be going to Harvard. If you know the Harvard story, you'll remember that somebody went, I think it was Pumzile Van Dam, if I'm not mistaken. She ended up having to go and study overseas because I think she chose to do that just to be away of the limelight. I don't know what informed that decision, but what I know is that she ended up not being a part of the Democratic Alliance. Stories started coming up, so they're saying that the kitchen is going to be too hot for Siviwe Gwarube as well. She's going to finally leave the Democratic Alliance because of the Bela Act. She will experience discomfort. And this one says, the Deputy of Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwarube even wants the public to comment on the regulations of the Bela Act. They will start this process by June, and this one is just indicating that it's a long road to go. This one says June, 6 months from now. The other one responded and said this process can take up to 2 years. I agree with this one because I also heard Helen Zille said it could take up to 18 months. And almost we are in South Africa, such things can end up taking more than 18 months, 2 years. Hey, even more, because we have your NGOs, we have all these organizations like taking stuff to court, and Pela court is not your house. Things are not going to happen overnight because you want them to. And this one said, lol, is gimmicks, Bafo. So basically they're saying there is nothing in there with the Bela Act, it's just gimmicks so that it looks like things are happening. But then whatever your views are, kindly use the comment section to share your views. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you the clips of the Minister of Department of Basic Education here, so that you can hear yourself what she said, and I'll be back with the rest of my commentary.
Taking us to June 2025. Public participation is an important step in the lawmaking process. It gives South Africans an opportunity to make their voices heard and ensuring that they make inputs in the implementation of this act. And so once these regulations have been published, the public participation process will thus then begin. Much has been said about this piece of legislation, and at times it has regrettably been used as a political football. I now want to make it clear that the time for that is now over. I will not tolerate any weaponizing of this legislation for political means. The future of this country and our learners depends on us being able to do our work. The debate around mother tongue education is an important one. Mother tongue education has been proven to assist learners to achieve good learning outcomes. It is important, therefore, that this act is not used to undermine any language that is selected for teaching and learning. All 12 official languages are protected by the Constitution. Additionally, our schools should not be used as a battleground for narrow political interests. Our schools must be places of safety and learning for our learners. And so I will guard against this. I also want to make it crystal clear that I will be guided by the rule of law and the oath of office that I took. And so I am warning today that any person who seeks to victimize schools or school children outside of the rule of law will be dealt with harshly. The development of regulations, norms and standards and policy will be determined by me in conjunction with the public, as the President has determined in the commencement presidential minute that he signed yesterday. Above all, I do want to remind South Africans that we need to place children at the heart of everything that we do in making this Bela Act a reality. All 13.5 million learners are my responsibility, and I will seek to protect them at all costs. Learners in South Africa deserve a quality education system, and I'm committed to ensuring that that happens and that they receive that at all times. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions, colleagues.
Minister, good afternoon. Mariska Botha from the SABC. We've already heard certain organizations speaking out against this. Do you expect there to be any legislation on the matter? And are you ready for that process if it should take place?
Cool. Legal challenge? Anyone else?
Just in terms of clarity on the timeline, I think the one thing that's on top of people's minds is now, so when will the regulations and guidelines be there for the bill to actually be implemented? Can you please just give some more clarity with regard to the timeline?
Okay, cool. All right. Right. Let me handle these two questions first. On the issue around legal challenges, look, I mean, the process is as follows. The President assents to the bill and he commences it. And I countersign that as a minister in government. And so if there are organizations that seek to take this on review and bring it before a court of law, we will then as a government have to defend the position. And so we are ready to receive any legal challenges. And I think it's also just important to say that if this matter is taken to court, that perhaps instead of it being the subject to political contestation, that perhaps the court is not a bad place for the determination of whether or not this law and this act meets legal muster. And so I do not discourage organizations from exercising their right to being able to access the courts. But as I've indicated, that will be done on the basis of a legal challenge against the government. And then on the issue around timelines, and Llewellyn, you're absolutely right, people are interested in the timelines. But I also want to make this clear that guidelines and regulations in particular take time because of the public participation element of it. I have committed to moving with pace because I would like there to be legal clarity that is given to the sector as soon as possible. I want us to draw the line now in this matter so we can implement the bill that is supported by guidelines and regulations. And so that's why this is a multi-pronged approach. Number one, I would like guidelines to be sent. I've instructed the team to send guidelines to all public schools by the end of January 2025. I would like the regulations to be published for public comment by no later than 30th of June 2025. That then takes the process to the public participation part, and so of course I can't then determine how long that will take. But then of course, as I'm saying, I've instructed the DG that I would like the publication of these regulations to be done by June of next year. Happy to take any further questions. Kevin?
Minister, I'm Kevin Grant from ENCA. I would just like to know, is the education system in its current state at capacity to allow for this pivot when it comes to the issue of language? When we've over the past year heard how budget cuts have impacted the schooling system, brimming classrooms, can we then practically make this shift to make this a reality?
Okay.
Can I also just add on Kevin's question? The President also said that one of the things that must be looked at is the preparedness of the education system for grade R. And how will that be handled? Because the schools open in January and grade R can't wait till middle of the year to go to school. So how will that process kind of go?
Minister, Mariska again from the SABC, as you mentioned there, the timelines. So for all practical purposes, the law Act is there now. When will it then be implemented in full?
Okay. So perhaps let me start off with Mariska's question. When will the law be implemented in full? So when the President commences with the Act, he's in effect saying legally that the Act is now operational in full. Now, the reason why regulations, norms and standards, policy and regulations and guidelines are needed is so that to give legal clarity to sections of that legislation. And you raise an important point around budgets and the pressure under which the department is under to roll out compulsory grade R, to look at including additional languages in schools to promote mother tongue. Yes, those things will take significant investment. And this is the case that I intend to make to the Minister of Finance, to say since the President has commenced with this immediately, we are now under pressure to make sure that we can deliver compulsory grade R. And that's why I'm saying that the guidelines that we are sending, and that's why there's urgency that I want there to be at least guidelines that are sent to the provinces and to schools to be able to say, how do you handle grade R if perhaps you were not yet ready to receive a grade R class, so that they can get the guidance from the national department on how do they deal with something like that. And that's why the guidelines are there to help them navigate this new reality while regulations are being developed. But yes, it does now mean that we as a system have to make sure that even though about 60% of the system provides grade R, we have to make sure now that we regularize even ECD centers that offer grade R. We have to make sure now that we have greater scrutiny there, that they are registered so that they can form part of the education system. So there's plenty of work to be done. But I want to assure South Africans that I am committed to moving with pace, but we need to make sure that we do this correctly, because my guiding light here is ensuring that the 13.5 million learners in South Africa are given an opportunity to have a quality education. And so I have to make sure that in doing so, the department and I are guided by that, and we place their interests at the center of all that we do. So there is plenty of work to get the system regularized and get it ready. And so that is why then the timelines become important. So I suppose I'm answering the question, Mariska, in a technical way.
Some South Africans are so not happy with that timeline set by Minister Gwarube, or rather the Department of Education, let me say that, the Department of Basic Education. They say this timeline seeks to undermine the decision taken by President CYRIL Ramaphosa to sign the full implementation of the Bela Act. And some people have gone as far as saying this gives power to the DA. Even people like Talimpofu, they say the DA won, and people like Mzwanele Manyi say no, they didn't win anything. The regulations cannot change the law. You know, there are so many views out there. That timeline should take long. I think maybe sometimes, but you are allowed to disagree with me. I think we are used to things. Rather, let me say, we want things done fast. And I think this is where the ANC fails most of the time sometimes, especially things that needs processing thoroughly, things that involve the law. You must not cut corners, let me put it that way. I feel like we must not cut corners with this one, and we need to allow them to take the time that they need, that they say is needed to do this properly. Because even if they can say it's going to take 3 years, that 3 years is going to come. That thing will still need to be done, because they can't cancel the law now. They can't cancel it. They can't change it. It is there and it needs implementation. It is the responsibility of the Department of Basic Education to do so. Whatever games that they are trying to play, if there are any games that they are playing, at the end of the day, they must do what the president said must be done to get. Anyway, if you watched up to here, this is South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. I really appreciate you watching my videos. Do have a lovely day.